Welcome to Unfiltered with Jax and Stapleton. This week's episode is the second of a two-part series that features a very special guest, Lil Stapleton, or Papa Stapleton as we refer to him on Unfiltered. Mr. Stapleton was a career Navy photographer and a trained expert on developing photos in color. In fact, he developed one of the moon landing photos for NASA, but one of his very favorite times professionally was when he worked alongside Ansel Adams. If you have yet to see part 1, we encourage you to do so. Before we bring you the final installment of this series, we would like to thank Mr. Stapleton for his time and stories shared, as well as his service and love of country. We would also like to thank Mrs. Stapleton, who has most likely heard all these stories several times before, but patiently sat through our hour-long interview with her husband of 66 years. And now, we bring you part 2 of Unfiltered with special guest Lil Stapleton.
Welcome back.
Here we are.
We'll take a little break. A little breaker. I think those scold her dogs.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I'll tell you how it all got started. I had to talk my dad into letting me sign to go in the Navy. And he finally signed in 1952 to let me go in. And they give you a basic battery test, what you're good at. I was an engineer. And I spent 3 years in that engine room on a troop transport, hauling troops to Korea. In 3 years' time, I made 30 trips across and back on the ocean. But all those, when you pull out, when you got all those troops on board, they all get sick. And so you had puke going up and down the passage.
Oh.
And they'd throw a spoonful of food on your tray and turn around and heave in the sink. You know, it was not fun.
Did it take a while for you to get used to your sea legs?
You never got used to it.
Never.
No.
And you could feel waves on that big old Oriskany, right?
Well,
Were you on the
that's
Oriskany?
when I went later
Okay.
to the Oriskany. I finished the tour on the Breckenridge. And in Breckenridge, it was a troop transport, which my dad, my brother, and my brother-in-law were all helped build. That was my first ship. And my second ship was the USS Oriskany. An aircraft carrier. Aircraft carrier. Today they're like a city. They're huge. But we had a storm turned out there that took a 5-inch gun turret off our bow. Just, and the catwalks up by the flight deck got folded back, and I laid in bed. Well, the kids, my crew would always tease me because I got seasick. And when it started getting rough, they'd say the clipboards of the air going back and forth. And it wasn't funny, you know. But I'd go up and go to bed. You know. And when they hit those big old waves, they figured the waves was about 180 feet high.
Can you imagine that?
Sure.
Oh, you would.
Isn't it
You'd be a little
Well,
pussy.
Well,
I want to go in with my mom and daddy.
I gotta tell you one about that too. This kid worked for me, and I'm a really good friend with the Admiral. Then the Admiral come over one night and he says, "Leo, you have a little boy about your size and everything works for you?" "Yes, sir, I do." This kid went into his stateroom and the porthole's open, and my man's out underneath that porthole. "I want my mama." He got discharged.
Oh, he did?
You know,
You can go home,
did it?
get your mom.
And my crew was known as Leo's Bandits.
Oh, that's not Leo's Bandits.
We was sitting in the photo lab one day, and this guy's, well, one of first class, he comes up and he says, "Leo, I found a whole pallet of tile." And I said, "Get it," you know. And his second class come back and he said, "Leo, he asked the chief master at arms to get off that pallet of tile so we could steal it." That's asking the chief of police.
Wow.
I said, "Hide it." You know, we didn't get in trouble over it, but just things like that. Stationed at Moffett Field, and the skipper come down one day and he says, Leo, I need some railroad ties. And I said, well, they're just around there. I can't get them. So I took the horse trailer and went up and got him half a dozen railroad ties. You know, I was no, you know, Radar O'Reilly. Here I
am. Well, you did marry Hot Lips.
No.
Hot Lips is in the house.
But it was fun. But I got to, in my naval career, I got to see a lot of nice people. And the photography, color photography is always going to be a true love.
And you were in for 23 years.
23 and a half.
Wow.
What was the deciding factor of retiring?
Getting away from you guys.
Oh.
I was gone all the time. You know, after a while you get tired of it. You know. So I figured I had enough, and I had enough hours time to get in. You know. Got out of the Navy, and I was offered a job for Eastman Kodak at $85,000 a year if I'd take it. I was offered a GS-15 in Washington, D.C. if I'd take it. You know, I just want to go home. You know, and I do love Florence. You know, Florence is a town. When we went home in 1974, Florence, the town, paid for Brooke Lundeen to have a liver transplant. You know, that's a good town.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I switched when the Elks Club could no longer loan medical gear because they said it's where you can be sued. By the way, it's not true. You can't be sued as long as you're loaning. You know, I took over medical gear, and for 16 years I had loaned medical gear to everybody that needed it. And not only just in Florence, I had stuff loaned as far south as Needles, California, as far north as Spokane, Washington, as far east as Bend, Oregon.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you still get calls.
Yeah.
And you still help people out.
They made me quit, but I can't do the little nuts and bolts anymore. I have neuropathy of the hand. But it's one of the greatest feelings in the world to make somebody mobile when you're stuck. And one of the best ones on that one was this lady called me up, this big lady, and she says, would you happen to have a big bedside potty? I said, yes ma'am, I do. And she says, can I come and get it? And I said, sure. You know. And her husband showed up, we got to talking. The lady for 2 years had not had a shower or nothing, hadn't been outside and everything. And I gave him a big four-wheeled walker to take her outside, and I gave him a big shower stuff so she could have her shower. She wrote me a letter that says, I didn't know there's people like you in the world.
Wow. 2 years. Wow. I mean, I think I know where Stapleton gets all it from. All the helping and stuff, for sure. That's an amazing story.
Well, the last one, I had a $20,000 power chair. They have one that does everything for you. And my buddy says, Larry, the guy that owns the restaurant in town, his grandson had a wreck in Ventura, California, motorcycle wreck, paralyzed from the waist down. And I called Larry up and I said, I got the chair for you. And you can have it. You know, and anyway, I even offered to let them use my lift on the back of my truck. You know, and they said, no, we'll take it in a deal. So, and I had my first heart attack in the Navy, and I've talked to me and let me stay in everything. And I think the good Lord is keeping me around to help people. And it's like when we stumbled into her, you know.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did.
We are too.
We're glad.
Yeah.
I think that, just her way about people and things. You are the reason, Leo, that I have to eat alone when I'm with her.
Well,
But that's okay. I now I have a little bit of understanding where that all comes from. I just am going to say no to her next time she wants to go to dinner.
well, that little lady right over there backs me on everything I do.
Oh, I'm sure.
She does.
She's a big supporter.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
She,
tell the story about Mom. How you met Mom.
Yeah, I'd like to know how you met
Oh, you
her.
don't want to know it.
Oh yeah, we do.
My mother's brother married her mother's sister. We're not related. And so my uncle died, and I hitchhiked up to my aunt's place, and she was there. And her uncle and I threatened to throw her in the creek. But the next evening, I was headed up further north, and my cousin said to her, "Kiss him goodbye." And I went to Klamath Falls, and I said, "I'm going back for seconds."
And that's how she got the nickname Hot
Yeah.
Lips.
And anyway, she was only 17 then. And so we communicated letters until it'd be October. And she came home after she turned 18. We went out on our first date, and I asked her to marry me, and she said, okay. And that was in October, and we got married in January.
So you asked her to marry you on the first date?
And
What?
I proposed to her.
That's where you get that from too.
It's not just a lesbian thing.
Dang, I want to make sure I got that clear.
She supported me in everything I ever done.
That's amazing. What a beautiful story. I mean,
You were
yeah.
married 3 months later
We got married January 23rd,
at.
1959.
Yeah, but where were you at?
Oh, I was stationed in Purdue, but we got married in a guy's house, a friend's, or folks' house in Ojai.
Okay.
That's so cool.
You know,
She's right here.
and everything, the world's been good to me.
There she is. She's trying to be all shy.
She just got you.
Well, I love that story. So I really appreciate you talking to us because this was very, very interesting. I love it.
Yeah.
Sherry?
Well,
Stapleton?
I like my life I've had.
Yeah, you can tell. You can tell.
What do you think in the Navy? What was your proudest accomplishment?
Being a photo officer and filling a W3 billet. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm the only E6 that ever filled the billet, the photo officer billet on a carrier going into combat.
And he's got stories about taking. People had guns. You had a camera, and you had made a comment about
That's
standing next to a gentleman on the deck, right? And you said that he got shot, and you hit the deck.
That was in a motor wheel. I mean, a boat in the bar, going up the river in Vietnam.
In Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
And you hit the. Didn't you say you just?
Damn right.
And just
man.
went.
When somebody's head right next to you gets blown off, and you don't kick your head up.
You know, I was talking to Dad last night. I was just like, he was telling me all these stories about Vietnam and Korea, and I'm like just amazed at what these men and women went through. And I'm like, how are you so normal? I just, and
Because
just
he's seen a lot.
so,
He's been around a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think that you're still here for a reason. And I know you went through hell, and you manned up, and it was a job,
But
and you.
the worst thing I ever had was shooting suicides. And do not.
Oh, yeah.
We had a guy that drank lime and made him woke his family up while his throat was coming apart. ended up getting in a car and shotgun blood gets all over it. Yeah. You gotta take pictures of it. I never got sick except one night. Let's see, where was I at? Puerto Rico. And they said there's a body on the beach. So we went there, and you have to take pictures in all the routes, you know, in relation to high tide, low tide, and all that. You seen the head was split open, and when the mortician showed up there, he was going around and he pulls the head apart like this and said, "Then picture this." Oh, and I had just ate, you know, and I lost it, you know, and then he grabbed the hair and pulled it up, and his little breast dropped down, and he said, "This is a woman," and then I lost it again.
Oh man.
I don't like suicide and that stuff.
I think with everything that you've been through and you've seen, you just probably can never take it out, right?
You don't think about it.
Yeah.
You got guys that it's called brothers, band of brothers, and they want me to come in there and they talk about it. I don't want to talk. You know.
I gotcha. I can understand that for sure. Yeah.
But it's been a good life. I got a good family. My kids never been into drugs or nothing, you know. That's good.
Yeah. Raised them very well.
And that's kind of hurt.
This one right here.
Again. Hi, Mom.
Hey, Mom.
Dad, how did you, when you retired, you walked out of a hangar, and didn't you?
41.
What?
When I retired. In the Navy. 42. 42.
You walked out, and you took off your sailor hat, or
No, I didn't do it. This commander from another squadron did. He took off my sailor hat and put a cowboy hat.
yep. And then what did you do?
Walked to the horse right next to that.
And then rode off.
I got on the horse, and you come running, and you got in front of me. And we rode off through the P3s.
Super cool. What a
Isn't
way
that
to
cool?
what a way to go out,
Wow.
man.
Some class
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
I put 20 years at the post office too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Rode a mail carrier.
Okay.
And that was a nice deal.
I bet so.
When I get done with my mail route, I go crabbing. And I caught my limit crabs every day. And bring them home, cook them up, and I took them to homebound people.
How come you don't like crabs?
Yeah.
I gave them to homebound people on my route. When I got in trouble with the postmaster, he was saying I did this and that and everything. And the big boss over in Eugene, I got over there and he says, "You must be talking about two different people." He had 721 letters from my customers on my favor.
Oh, there you go. Don't mess with Leo.
But I'm retired Navy, retired post office, and I'm also just 80% disabled because of my ears.
Wow. You've come a long way, Leo. You've done a lot of amazing things for people and just the things that you actually have experienced in your life. And yeah.
Well, you've done food share. You still go is it Christmas? You get jackets and take them up to
Oh, that's the vet stuff.
the vets. Mom makes,
100 dozen cookies.
100 dozen cookies.
yeah, and
100 dozen.
100 dozen, and they're good. There's some in the microwave.
I still gotta have one before I leave. Hello.
But the stuff.
But my brother started me in the veteran stuff. And so 40 years we've been taking clothes and cookies and stuff to the vets.
Nice.
I think you need to do a shout out for Levi. I thought that was a really cool story.
Well, Levi is out of business.
Right.
Now, but I went over to, my son worked for Levi. And anyway, they have a sale twice a year, wasn't it? And when we went over to buy some stuff for us, and then I had $400 of ladies' money. And I said, may I buy $400 worth for the vets? Oh yeah, you know. So I got what I thought I had, and $60 over. So I reached in my pocket to pay it. And the lady says, put her arm around me, she said, no honey, we're giving them to you. And from that day on, Levi gave us tons of clothes. At the end of every sale, we got it all to take to the vets.
Wow. That's amazing too.
And it was pretty darn nice.
Yeah.
It really was.
Very.
And was it Fred Meyer that always gives you the...
Oh, Fred Myers is really neat. They let us know. The Elks Meals gives us $1,000 to buy stuff with. So we find out when they're doing their winter sale, and we saved more than we spent last year. Fred Meyer's down to 50%, they let us know. And then they'll give us a discount for like Tuesday, and they'll give us this person's discount. And they for $80 jackets, we paid $20.
Wow.
You know, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's way awesome.
But I got to tell you about her cookie.
About her.
I had to lie to her.
Oh.
Oh!
Because the ladies come to me and they said, what will get Shirley up to the Elks state convention? I said, for what? And then they told me, for the Veterans, Oregon State Veterans Association wanted to give her a plaque in a deal. And so we told her I was getting the award. And we got up there, and she's sitting on the outside, and this lady comes over and says, Shirley, come with me. And she says, you want Leo? And she said, no, I want you.
Surprise.
They took her to the stage, and she don't even remember going up on the stage or getting her picture shot with 7 different people. You know, and she got a plaque and a set of pins and an American flag. You know, from the VA for 100 dozen cookies.
That is incredible.
That's amazing. And they're awesome cookies.
I can't wait to try them. Yeah. They're my favorite cookies.
Well, it's been fun. It has been a lot of fun. Not just the best, but to help people.
Yeah.
You know, every Christmas we make Olympia.
Oh, yeah. That's
And we make a bunch, and we get this much, and everybody else gets the rest.
Yeah.
All up and down the road, Dad delivers, and then he also makes salsa for people in town.
3.5 gallons at a time.
Mom, what are you doing? I'm cutting garlic. You know, so and so needs some salsa.
That's awesome.
You know,
Wow.
But it's all fun. It's all fun.
Keeps them busy. That's why they don't want to leave Oregon. They got their people there. And their people are relying on the salsa and the cookies.
And the lupia.
I mean, I can see that. They probably block all the roads and not even let them leave.
Well, she cuts up the garlic. I just slice the onions and squish them in quarters. And she slices up the rest. Trying to find hot jalapenos is almost impossible anymore.
Yeah. You should bite into one of those big jalapenos.
No, I'm good.
No, they're like the mild.
Yeah.
They are. They're really mild.
They're mild.
Yeah. I sweat when I eat ketchup.
Thanks, Leo.
Come
I
on.
appreciate you confirming that.
No, I'm good.
She gets one little piece of jalapeno and she's about ready to die. I need milk.
I need milk.
I need some water. Oh my God, I can't eat the rest of this.
And you know what her favorite food is? Mexican.
I know. But she has to have it her way, so.
It don't make
Do I have
sense.
sour cream with that salsa?
Dad, the other thing I love about you is your love for animals.
Oh, I love animals. We've had baby deer in our house, basement. We've got goats in our basement. If
What
it's
did you
sick,
get?
I take it.
What did you get for your retirement gift from? Didn't you get a goat?
Didn't I get a goat?
For your retirement? Wasn't that a present?
Oh, yeah.
You got a goat.
Grit.
Yeah. He got a goat for retirement.
Yeah. I had a stallion at one place, and my other horses in another. So I'd go to feed this stallion every morning, and all of a sudden there's this little goat. It'd be in somebody's garbage can. You could see his tail going. He's eating their grain. And I'd straighten all this thing up. He'd follow me back out to my truck. He'd find it. I told the people there, and I said, I'm going to steal that goat when I leave, because I really liked him. And they brought him to me with a blue ribbon around his neck. And he sat in the passenger side of the truck all the way to Oregon. Yeah.
That was your goat.
He also had a pot-bellied pig named Pork
that's-
Chop that he would take downtown Flowtown.
The school loved that pig. You know, we had taught her to do tricks. And
Oh my gosh.
all the kids would form a circle at their classroom, and I'd give them a raisin or a grape to put between their fingers. And she'd go, one kid would always put it in the palm of their hand, and the pig's nose was not clean. You know, they go, ooh, ooh, you know. But she'd do all her tricks and everything, and when the kids started to stand up, she'd run real quick to the kids that had Down syndrome or something and put her head right between their legs and going, and let her pet her. And she followed me all over the street. And the lady that makes the ambassador jackets offered to make her a jacket. You know, she's
Got a
exhibition.
jacket.
And she sat on my lap with her head out the window. And if people would come along and back off, and they come up with their cameras. But she was, and when you go crabbing with her, oh, terrible. She'd sit there until crabs, when you first turn them loose, the crab feed her out here like this, pinchers, and she'd sit there and watch them. And as soon as they folded their legs up like that, she'd eat them. She'd just, oh.
She would beg.
Wow.
Yeah, she would get on her hind legs and beg.
She's got the,
Oh, it's right there.
right over here,
Yeah,
that's my
that
pig.
wood pig.
That's
there.
the life-size picture, that's my,
Oh my God, that's what was staring at me earlier.
That's came with them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep.
That's cool.
this guy that does wood carving, if you look on the back of it, it says to Leo from Tim and Robin.
That's pretty cool. Wow. That's some good work right there.
You also did a lot of work with fishermen in Florence. You would donate your
I worked
or
with them 9 years.
volunteer your time.
I volunteered to run the ice machine and everything for the fishermen for 9 years. That got me into, when they bring the crab pots in, they have a lot of sand dollars in them. And so I take all the sand dollars home and bleach them out and give them to kids. Then it got so teachers from all over the world would call and say, can I have 42 for this class?
Yeah.
And they made the kids write me letters. And then, can you eat them? Can you put them in your fish tank? This cute.
No. Wow.
And one man wrote a book. What do they call that? Oh,
No bad apples.
yeah, no bad apples. Referring kids to apples. So I was talking to him, and then he disappeared. And wife and kids, I gave him sand dollars anyway. And anyway, the guy comes back, and he wrote a book, No Bad Apples, and gave me autographed one and gave it to me.
That's cool.
But to give all those to the teachers, that was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That is cool. These are some good stuff. What do you think?
I think my dad rocks.
Yeah, your dad
I
rocks.
think my mom and dad are
They're amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
Gosh, I can't even imagine that many dozen cookies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, look how skinny she is.
I know. She looks
Oh my God.
really good.
Yeah.
What was it? Kind of what lips?
Hot lips.
Hot lips.
Oh, mwah.
We're gonna give her a T-shirt
Yep.
that says "Hot Lips" on it. And Leo.
She can't. You got to leave her for me.
Well, I'll tell you what, with
yeah.
with mom and dad, you guys, thank you
Yeah.
for
Right back.
not just for what you did for me, but what you've done for everybody. Amazing.
It's been fun, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
She's enjoyed it.
And it keeps
That's the
yes,
best.
yeah. And what a way to walk on the earth and be such a great role model.
Mm-hmm.
I love you guys.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing all your stories with us. We didn't
We didn't see the F word once.
That is fucking crazy.
Well, I gotta say it too. My parents are fucking amazing.
Amazing. So for now, we just want you to enjoy the stories that that Leo shared with us today, and we know that this podcast is all about Leo right now.
Yes, it is.
And we're
Leo and
good with
Shirley.
it. Yep. So for now, we're gonna sign off, and that's
Thank you,
about
guys.
it. Peace out.
Deuces.
Thank you for watching this episode of Jax and Stapleton Unfiltered. Today's show featured founding podcasters Jax and Stapleton. Executive produced by both Jax and Stapleton. Sound editing and the theme song by Jamie Hudson. Video editing by Jax, Stapleton, and Jamie Hudson. Be sure to follow us on your socials. We'll be popping up soon on all. Or visit us at jaxstapletonunfiltered.com.